Good morning, guys. Excuse me. It is, wow. Apparently, I need to drink some water. It is May 18th, 2020, Monday, May 18th, 2020, day 16 at Flippin Live. And I'm Andrew from 510 Books. I'm happy that you guys are here. And today I wanted to talk about, I want to talk a little bit about some appointments I have today and tomorrow for some book related donations and that type of thing, and then talk about eBay sales, and also we're going to dive in what I wasn't able to get to yesterday about how to make more money on at thrift stores. So let's get going. Flippin' live, flippin' live, flippin' live, flippin' live, flippin' live. We're gonna strive. We're here to learn and gonna earn. Flippin' live, flippin' live, flippin' live. We're flippin' live. Morning, guys. I see Brian's here. Pat, good morning. Nathan, good morning. Eddie, awesome to see all you guys. Brian asked a question. How long do you personally leave some listings up on eBay if they're long tail items? Is 2 years too long? Yeah, I would say 2 years is a long time. I would definitely be repricing it, taking offers, but I would say if you have the space, just keep it up, and probably just wait it out. I mean, it depends on what it is. If you feel that it's something that's really not going to sell, you can also try to sell it Amazon Merchant Fulfilled, depending on what it is, of course. If it's something that you can't sell on Amazon, that you're gated for, or for some other reason, then of course it doesn't make sense. But I would say, if it is a genuine long-term item, that it probably is still worth, hold on, is still worth waiting out. And also depends on how much money you have tied into it. If you only have $1 or $2, then why not just leave it up or get rid of it, right? If it's a big item or a big set or something, then maybe you want to clear out the space wherever you're storing everything. But I would say leave it up there and just lower the price slowly, maybe a little bit every month or something like that. And eventually somebody will probably come along. I mean, I have items on there that have been up there. I've been selling on eBay for 3 years now, and I definitely have some items from 2+ years ago. Now, I have taken off a lot of items. I went through some, I believe, last year. It's been a while, but it might have been earlier last year where I went through all of my CDs, and I pulled I did the same thing with Merchant Fulfilled. But in terms of eBay, I pulled a bunch out that the prices had just gone too low, and there were too many other copies and that type of thing. And I pulled probably dozens of CD titles out of there, and then I just ended up either putting them for local sale or putting them into lots on eBay and getting rid of them that way. Or worst case scenario, I would just pull the discs out and put those into my loose CD lots. And then if the case was in good condition, I would just keep the case for a replacement case. Of course, if it's not a CD, if it's something different, if it's a book, then it might be more difficult. But there's usually some way to try to make money, but sometimes there's not. But I would say wait it out, yeah. Boop, 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 boop. JD, good morning. Hello, everybody. Glad to see everybody here bright and early on Monday. Excuse me. I know I was talking about, yesterday I was talking about, part of what I talked about was how eBay sales for me had slowed down since Friday. And I'm wondering, now that I have you guys here, if you've seen that over this weekend. Did eBay sales slow down for you since Friday? Did you see any sort of slowdown at all? Some different pattern? Because I was wondering if it had to do with a lot of the colleges and high schools graduating this weekend. Even though there's social distancing in place, it's still a huge event if you have a high school or college senior. Um, and I know here locally where I live, there's a lot of colleges, and they normally would be having tons of graduations. And of course, the big local, the city high school. There's just one high school in the city I live in, and they would be having a huge celebration, at graduation as well. So there's a lot of signs in people's yards saying "Class of 2020," "Stay strong," whatever stuff like that. And so I was thinking that might have to do with it. I know that things have been abnormal. Like this is normally a time for eBay sales, for sales in general online, to slow down a little bit because we're getting close to the summer and people are starting to graduate and people are going to start taking vacations normally. Right now, of course, this is going to be different. So I'm sure sales will continue to be strong online going into the summer, I'd assume. But anyway, I just wonder what you guys had experienced this weekend in regards to that. Yeah, Pat says, fell off a cliff since about Wednesday. Sounds about right. Mine slowed down on Friday. I noticed that just this like the momentum was steady through the week, and then suddenly the brakes got applied, and sales just slowly came to a halt. And let's see, I had a sale on Saturday. I'm talking about individual items because I had a lot of um, DVD lots up for sale. So I sold a lot of those on Wednesday because the auction ended. But in terms of individual items, it's been slow. So I had one on Saturday, and then yesterday, I had another one. Actually, I had two DVD sales. I think maybe it was Friday and Saturday. But the last 3 weeks for me, I've been getting at least around 8 to 12 individual sales throughout the weekend on eBay. And then, so by Monday, I usually have a lot to ship out. Now, today, I will have a lot to ship out because I have a lot of lots, mini lots that I have to ship out. So today will be basically a shipping day for me. I have to go pull a bunch of them from the warehouse and box them up at the warehouse and then bring them home. And I will be spending several hours doing that, which I'm thankful for. But that will be a lot of shipping today. But I did sell a couple of items yesterday. I got 2 offers on 2 items, and I accepted one offer, and another one I came back with a counter offer, which they accepted. They just haven't paid yet. So a couple things did sell for me, but still it was slow for sure. Uh, Nathan says, sold 2 pairs, which is good for me. Sad, I know. Pat, how much of that is outside influences and how much is because by now all of my good stuff is long gone? Um, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, Pat, about your situation. Maybe it is the second one, the latter. All now my good stuff is long gone. It might be. I don't know if you've been able to add much more inventory to it, but it could be that could be what it is for sure. I mean, I've been able to continue to add inventory, so I know that like yesterday I added a bunch of buy it now DVD lots. Oh no, what am I saying? I did that a different day. I did that Friday, and then yesterday I did a bunch of CDs and audiobook type of media, and I haven't had any sales on those yet. And that was probably I added probably 25 or so items. So I know things are definitely slower for some reason. Hopefully it picks up during the week. We'll see. But anyway, I was just wondering if it was just me or if it was something that was happening. But if you're not able to source right now, then clearly it's going to be tough to increase the sales. Hopefully things will start to reopen. I would just go local right now. Go to the local apps, Facebook Marketplace, and look for whatever you can find to try to flip. But in that vein, my Facebook ad is still running, and I spoke to somebody yesterday who had contacted me later in the week, probably like Thursday or something through Messenger, Excuse me. Wow. And they, geez, and they said they were going to go through their father's books and they were going to get in contact with me. And so they contacted me and I actually called them. They gave me their number and spoke to her. And like all this, she's nearby, right? She saw my ad because she's nearby within the what is it, like 7 mile radius. So she's really close by. And I set an appointment for Tuesday at 10 a.m. to go pick up a bunch of books from her. She already, when I spoke to her yesterday, she didn't have boxes, but she has bags. Already has 10 bags full of books, and she said there's more. And then she asked me while I was talking to her, she says, "Oh, do you also take DVDs? Because my brother has a bunch of DVDs." And I said, "Absolutely." So I don't know what a bunch are. I don't know how many. It could be 20. It could be 100. I don't know. But it's going to be donated. It'll be there on Tuesday along with all the books. So that's exciting. That this is always like you get in there, the books introduce you to the people, and then if you get donations from them, then that opens up other things, right? They start asking. It's just inevitable that if you're going through your books, then you think of other types of media um, that you might have: CDs, DVDs, records, that type of stuff. Any type of media, even records. Somebody already mentioned to me whether I accept records. So we'll see what happens. But that's going to be happening tomorrow. Sorry, yeah, tomorrow because today's Monday, and then today at 9:30, I believe it's 9:30. I have an appointment with a guy who's going to come and buy 7 textbooks that I have. They're older textbooks that are not worth any money um, online. So I was just going to get rid of them. Probably have to recycle them. But he contacted me, and he's a student. And anyway, he's going to buy all of them off of me for $5 a piece. So that'll be good. It'll help him. It'll help me. It's good for everybody. Uh, Manny said, "Good morning, Manny. I had to manufacture every sale this weekend by dropping prices slightly and sending offers to watchers." Yeah, yeah, it was a slower weekend for sure. Pat says I've added crap for my death pile, but it's crap. No new sourcing for 2 months. Yeah. JD asked, "Do you buy shipping boxes and envelopes? What do you use?" Um, Hold on a second. Shipping boxes. No, not boxes. Envelopes, yes. So I buy envelopes through eBay. Um, so I have, if you have a store, that's the other thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about whether you should get a store or not, is if you have a store, I don't know, again, I don't know these details, you have to check, but um, I think the credit is smaller. eBay gives you a credit to buy eBay supplies. So every quarter, every 3 months, when you have a premium store, you get a $50 credit they can apply towards eBay supplies. So I apply that towards buying. I buy the big 14-inch by 10-inch bubble mailers from eBay. So I use those for a lot of my eBay sales that are like, if it's an individual book or if it's an individual DVD, I wrap it, I fold it over. Um, I've done like small CD lots where I have like 10 or less or something, and I put them in there and put some other bubble wrap around them. So anyway, those are free other than I have to pay for tax. No, sorry, for the shipping. So those are like $35, and eBay pays for those with the credit. So I get those, and then other envelopes I just buy through eBay. They're just padded manila envelopes that I'm running low on. Actually, I have ones for individual CDs, so they're smaller ones that I buy. Like I think I bought like 200 last time, so I buy them on eBay. And in terms of boxes, I get all my boxes, non post office boxes, of course, for free because I'm a fan of finding your local recycling dumpster and or finding the ones that consistently have boxes in there and getting them for free. So I haven't bought boxes in years um, for shipping. Now I've been doing eBay for 3 years, so uh, before that I would buy boxes because I was just doing Amazon, right? I would buy boxes for shipping and books I'd buy them from Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, which is fine. You get a certain same size box, and then you can fit a certain amount of books, typically, up to 50 pounds. But now I just pull them. There's dumpsters that I go to, that the recycling dumpsters. Of course, I'm assuming that every city or across the country, not everybody has recycling dumpsters specifically. Everything might be mixed together, but that's what I do here. And I go to there's one, two, three, there's four. There's four recycling dumpsters that I go to that consistently provide boxes of all different sizes, and a couple of them consistently have packing materials. So I never buy packing materials. And now that I find bubble wrap, I find air pillows, I find the thicker paper, that you can scrunch together, like butcher paper kind of stuff, and I find all that. Like right now, I have a lot of that stuff because I found some. Now, when the quarantine first started and everything shut down, I was having a hard time finding boxes because a lot of places had shut down. So now, though, it's getting close. It's getting back to normal. Well, not quite normal, because normal was a lot of boxes, but it's getting closer to where it was before. Um, so that's the answer to your question. Brian says, my death pile will be listed in a couple weeks. The stuff left over is mostly scraping the bottom of the bottom of the barrel, except for the DVD VCR combo units I have. Yeah, those are good. Good thing you have those, Brian, I'll say. Yeah, every state is different. Manny, I know, already made a thrift store run the other day. So fortunately for him, he's able to start doing that. I don't know here in California when that's going to, here in Southern California, when that's going to be a reality. But I would imagine thrift stores would be on the list of things that would, thrift stores, bookstores, would be on the list of things, some of the first places to open, because it's not food or anything like that. It's just people. It's just like a store, right? It's just a store. People browsing around and buying and standing in line to buy. So the thrift stores have to make sure that they're prepared for it. I know a lot of stores have those transparent plastic shields that they're having dangling from the ceiling in front of the cashiers, and they're saying maintain your space, don't get too close, wear a mask, keep your distance from other people. So I would say the only thing that would be an issue with thrift stores, well, one of the things that would be an issue is the social distancing, and they have to decide whether they're going to only allow a certain amount of people in at once and have to make people wait until people come out, or if they're going to let everybody in at the same time. Because normally on a normal day at a thrift store, any given day, it fluctuates as to how many people are there. There might be 10 people, there might be 20 people, but when they have like a coupon day or a day where everything's half off, the stores can get flooded, and there can be a line of 12, 15 people, plus another 30 people, whatever, in the store. And so I could see how things could get pretty dangerous for people going there and for people working there. So I would imagine they're probably going to limit the amount of people. Anyway, I'm totally guessing here, but that's what I would assume. Eddie says, hey, Eddie, good morning. I can't wait for garage sales. Yeah, for sure. I would think that, estate sales, well, garage sales are different because a lot of estate sales can be run by a company, so they could do appointments. They could say, only 5 at a time, whatever it is. And people would probably wait. Garage sales are different, of course, because it's just, people putting their stuff out in their garage or their front yard or their driveway or whatever it may be, or in their garage. So it could be, I don't know. I know there's been some people doing it, but I think by and large people are not doing it, at least here. I don't know about other areas, other wherever you may live. But I know here in Southern California, there has not been too much of that. I have my own warehouse space where I was holding a sale monthly. And so now I'm having to decide when I will open my next sale. And I'm not quite ready yet to open, but because I don't have a lot of new stuff that I have to put out and organize. But So I'm thinking more it'll be July than June for me, but we'll see. In June will probably be a big transition month, at least here in Southern California, because I think a lot of businesses are going to slowly start opening or being allowed to open. And we'll see what opens, what the new protocols are like, what people are doing, how many, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to go. I mean, there's resellers that are chomping at the bit, like you guys, to get out there, go to thrift stores, go to estate sales, go to garage sales. Um, of course, library book sales, which is what I talked about a few days back, is a whole nother conversation, of course. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. So I don't know, guys. I mean, we're going to see what's going to happen. Like I said, it's good. It's a good opportunity to take advantage of anything you can find that people are trying to sell or get rid of locally. Facebook Marketplace, next door, well, Craigslist even. It's funny how Craigslist has fallen down in terms of not being the go-to place. I remember 10 years ago where Craigslist was like the only one of the few games in towns for local, and you could buy just about anything on there and sell just about anything and find sales, find a job, etc. Not that I was reselling 10 years ago, but I do know it was much more popular back then. Excuse me. So speaking of thrift stores, I want to talk about making more money at thrift stores. I was going to talk about it yesterday, but we didn't have a chance to get into it. And it's always a good idea to sharpen the saw and think about new ways. When you're able to go back into thrift stores, which hopefully will be soon for a lot of people. If not this month, hopefully next month things will start opening. Even if they start opening slowly, and you have to wait to go in or that type of thing. The other thing is about thrift stores is they haven't been able to take donations, so who knows how much stuff they already had to fill their shelves. So they're going to have to reopen and start accepting donations and have protocol for that. They might have to wait a few days before they actually process the stuff, or they might have to just sit there and clean everything. So the whole process of reopening for thrift stores is going to be interesting to see what happens and what the stuff is like. Because I know one of the reasons why I'm benefiting from running a Facebook ad is, and I'm getting a lot of responses, is because the thrift stores being closed and people not being able to donate normally. Anyway, so making money at thrift stores. So typically, I mean, the thrift stores in my area, there's a lot of different kinds, and there's many different thrift stores, dozens of them, uh, and they fall into different categories. So I would say the two big categories would be the chain thrift stores. So these would be like Goodwill, Salvation Army, although there's not Salvation Armies out here, but that would be another one. Savers is another one. So there are certain ones, of course, Goodwill's the biggest, but there are certain ones that are chains or that you recognize that you will see multiple locations for. And then there are the smaller ones. There's other ones sort of in between that might have only two or three locations that have more than one. But I would still consider those pretty small, because I know there's one here that has two locations, um, and they're both extremely busy, but they are, underneath the same company. Um, but they're still small, right? You can still treat them as sort of like a mom and pop. So there's the chain ones, and then there's the mom and pop ones. And typically the ones like Goodwill, Salvation Army, Savers, the other one I'm thinking about that has several locations, typically those will have employees, right? They'll typically have employees working there. That's their job. I see other people have joined. We have 10 people watching. That's awesome. If you guys are new, welcome to the show, Flippin Live. We do this every morning, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm Andrew from 510 Books. We're going to talk about thrift stores right now, so feel free to participate in the chat if you have questions. Manny says, I've been out almost every day. No one has been out the last few days. Just had the bins to myself. Oh, okay. Well, good. That's a good thing. So that's the other thing, right? That when they do start opening, that I'm sure a lot of people will be hesitant to go. Also consider, guys, that I know when I go to thrift stores, a lot of the people are the demographic is generally older than younger, like older than me, right? So not even 50 plus. I would say 60 plus is typically, well, it depends. Some thrift stores I will see, because some people will go to thrift stores and that's where they will buy their clothes, that type of thing. And some of them are, parents, so they're younger than me. But I do see a lot of people over 60 at thrift stores. So a lot of them might not go because it's too dangerous, which makes sense. They shouldn't go. Unless they're extremely careful, they're wearing their mask, even maybe have gloves on. They're not going in near anybody. You know, if someone is over the 60, 65, they're more susceptible to becoming very ill or dying from the virus. So it makes sense, right? That there might not be that many people out there. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, when they do open, that's probably going to be the case that there might be some people running to the stores, but then there also might be, or will probably be a lot of people who are cautious or just are not ready to go. Because think about the psychological toll this takes, having been quarantined for so long. And if you're in the demographic of either being on the older side or having underlying medical conditions that could put you in the category of being more at risk to getting gravely ill from the virus if you were to get it, then it makes sense you won't go out. So anyway, so yeah, it's going to be likely that that's going to happen. But there are, I look at thrift stores as there's a couple different kinds. There's the big ones who typically have employees. There's the smaller ones that might have a few employees, but also typically will have a lot of volunteers. And so there's employees or workers, versus volunteers. Uh, and while you as a buyer should be nice to everybody as a reseller, you should definitely, you know, treat them the same way. They can be uh, a little different, right? Typically, the workers, employees are not getting paid very much, so so they might not really care too much about the job or about the organization. It's not always the case, of course. There are plenty of workers that I come across at the larger ones that do a good job. They seem to be more engaged in that type of thing. And then there's the volunteers who often will be more into the work or into helping you than the employees will, and will be more helpful with any questions you have or just helping you out in general to figure out the store or where things are or that type of stuff. So just keep it in mind that there are different types of people, that there's not always just workers, not always just volunteers. You kind of have to figure that out, and that might gauge how you deal with them. But things that I would recommend doing in thrift stores in general is to get to know people. Now, you might be uncomfortable doing this, and that's fine. And it's not a requirement by any means to make money in a thrift store as a reseller of books or other media or any items. But it could definitely help you if you get to know the people that work there and build a relationship with them, especially if you're going to be going back often. And when I was only doing Amazon, I would visit thrift stores a lot, and a lot of thrift stores often. I wouldn't go every day or every other day. I would typically go every few weeks to the same store, that type of thing, depending on which one it is. But if you get to know them, so the workers, also if you can get to know the owner, if it's a mom and pop or owners, or the manager, that potentially can be really helpful, because you can find out things like, hey guys, when that's how you should talk. Hey guys, so ask some questions like, when do you, if you're doing books, say, well, how often do you guys, I'm just wondering, how often do you guys put out new books on the shelves? Do you find out, do they put new books out every day? Because there are thrift stores that I go to where I'm thinking of the one that has the two, excuse me, the two locations, and every single day I know that they're putting out, because every time I go there, I don't go every day, but when I do go, when I would go often, there were always new books going out, right? There are always new books. So, and these are places that have a lot of books up for sale, thousands of books. Not every thrift store has tons of books, but these locations do. So there's ones that, you ask them, say, how often do you put out books? Typically, I mean, they'll tell you, right? They want you to buy, so it's good to be friendly. And so you want to find out, are they putting out books once a week? Are they putting it out every day? Do they put them out before they open? Do they put them out throughout the day? Is it a certain time? so that you can kind of figure out, well, if the books go out in the morning, right when they open, maybe I'll wait a couple hours to go in, or if they already put them all out before they opened up, um, or they put them out in the afternoon, or they only put them out Mondays and Wednesdays, or only Fridays, or only Saturdays, then you can figure out, well, if they put them out once a week and I go after that, then I should wait probably until next week or whatever to go back, because you don't want to go back and it's the same exact books, right? Um, yeah. So, and the other thing is too, which you may or may not be comfortable with, is talking to the owner or the manager about, once you've gone through the books, you can ask them. You can say, "I was just wondering, do you guys have any other books that in the back that you haven't been able to put out yet, or you haven't gotten to?" And then if they say yes, then you can ask the question, well, would you mind if um, would it be okay if I look through those and I'll pay you, the same amount that you have them out here for, whatever you have a price for. And, if you're comfortable doing that, some people may let you in the back and you can look at the books that no one has seen yet. Some owners or managers will just say no, and that's it. It's over, right? You're not going to be able to get in the back. But if you build a relationship with someone, then before you ask that question, maybe bring, and this is going to the extreme, but maybe like bring some cookies, or bring some, I don't know, something to them, if that's something you're comfortable doing. Build a relationship. You don't have to do that, but you can just chat with them. A lot of these people are if the owners are not necessarily doing, it's a lot of work, and they're not necessarily doing really well, not necessarily making a killing. So it's nice to, they should like resell. I mean, they typically will like resellers because you can buy a lot of stuff from them, consistently come back, and it's a good thing for them. So I'd recommend, I recommend doing that. One second, Eddie. I will talk about that in a second. Um, and so anyway, go to all in your. Oh, right. And another thing I wanted to mention, is that when you are, doing, thrift stores, that you should probably go to. Hold on a second, guys. Let me. No, that's fine. I recommend that if you live in an area where there's a lot of thrift stores, that you visit all of them, and that you see which ones are worth your time and effort, and which ones are not. So, when I first started, I would always searching for new thrift stores, and I would find some, and they would have a ton of books because I was only doing books, and I would get excited about that and see if the books were good. The books were pretty good, then I would, go back often. Sometimes there'd be a lot of books that wouldn't be that good, or their books would be, there wouldn't be very many books, so that would not be really worth it for me. Um, and so I recommend, you kind of set up a schedule for that, and you say, well, there's these 10 thrift stores. These are the better ones, so I'm going to go to these, and you'll never know if you unless you go and check them out and see if they're worth your time, because there are some that are just not. Um, I mean, there are some I've heard, that will resell online. By and large, the ones I've gone to, excluding ones like Goodwill, are not selling online. They're individual standalone thrift stores, and they get their donations and they put them out. Um, Now, some thrift stores will charge more money, and I've come across that, and that's always amazing. Where you come across a book, and I'll look it up. I won't even look at the price because I'm just pulling it out and scanning the barcode, and I'll say, "Oh wow, a $25-$30 book," and then I'll look at the price and it's like $10. Well, clearly they somehow figured out that this book is worth money, and they're going to charge that much money for it, even though it's still a thrift store. So those are always strange to me. I don't, either there's people are buying them at that price, or they think they will, but usually that's not the case. Usually they're still going to be 50 cents, a dollar, $2, that type of thing. So those are definitely the ones you want to visit. Sorry, Eddie asked me about the ads. Let me just jump back to that real quick. uh, I heard you talk about running ads the other day for donations. Are you running them on Facebook, and are they free, or do you have to pay for the ad? Um, I'm running them on Facebook and I'm paying for them. So uh, you can post ads on Facebook or in the marketplace saying I'll accept donations and put your number, put a graphic, that type of thing. Hold on a second, Pat. I'll get right back to that. So Eddie, I'm running it on Facebook. I'm paying for it. I actually have done Facebook ads before, so I have some experience with it. It's connected to my 510 Books Facebook account, or sorry, my Facebook page. So they see my 510 Books page or account. That's what it's attached to, and that is for my local sale. So I'm running an ad. It's a video ad. It's a video that I created and edited. It's about 35, 38 seconds long. And then it's basically just you're looking to donate your books, donate to us. I say who I am and say I'll do pickups or drop offs, etc. Message me through Facebook. So people message me about it. And I'm spending $5 a day on it. So if you have more questions about it, let me know. And it's going well. I've already gotten like a dozen messages over about a week's time frame, and I've gotten 3 donations of books, and I'm getting another donation on tomorrow as well, which is apparently going to be really big. I mean, a lot of books. We'll see what the books are, but yeah. Pat says, "Have you ever had the mother load experience? Um, Thrift store where you end up filling a truck." Do you mean that you as a buyer, whoops, that you find a lot of stuff there? Is that what you mean? That you fill up your car because there's so much good stuff? Let me know if that's what you mean, Pat. Um, I mean, let me think. I've found like, when I used to do a lot of thrift store runs, I would find sometimes as many as 50 items or something. Sometimes I'd spend as much as like 50, 60, $70 in one thrift store because I'd find so much. Of course, it depends on the thrift store. Some thrift stores are less expensive than others. Some will charge $1.50, $2 a book, and others will charge uh, 25 cents to $1 a book. So clearly it depends on which one as to how much money I would spend. But a mother load, I would say, I mean, I found in terms of profit, yes, I've had some thrift store runs where I've been able to find really valuable items, books specifically. In terms of quantity, I've never really found like hundreds of books in one run, but I have found some very valuable books, textbooks that go for a lot of money, or just some books in general. So definitely, in terms of profit, I have come across a lot of profitable books at thrift stores, which is why thrift stores are still great to go to as a book or media reseller for sure. Um, a lot of people talk about some YouTubers, some people in general will say, "Don't waste your time at thrift stores," and I think that's crazy advice. Uh, they'll say, "Oh, well, some of the thrift stores have already gone through the books and are selling online," which I don't find to be true in general. Depends on the thrift stores you have in your area, or they'll say other resellers have picked through it. Well, that totally depends, right? Based on my experience, that's not been the case. In all the years I've been going to thrift stores, only one person have I come across and seen consistently at thrift stores buying books to resell. And that was later after I'd already gotten into bulk and I started to just randomly go to thrift stores or back to some of my favorite ones. And I would see this guy who I'd never seen before. So clearly he was a newer seller or excuse me. Oh man. Wow. Had just come into the area. And I would see him at like, let's see, one, two, I can think of 2 thrift stores that I saw multiple times. Excuse me. And that was it. Like he was the only one. And even though he had gone through books, I still found books. And uh, he would be finishing up and I would show up and then I'd come behind him and I'd still find books. So all that stuff is silly. Thrift stores are definitely a great place. You can find a lot of valuable books. That is for sure. Um, okay, yeah. Only happened a couple times. Yeah, I mean, I would say in general, when I go to a thrift store in terms of profitable books or just items in general, I would say typically I'll find like around 20 to 30 items if I spend the time going through all the books, all the CDs, VHS tapes, records, audio books if they have any. Um, yeah, all if I go through all of those, they have all those different types of media. Then typically I'm going to come across find 20 plus items, unless they just really don't have good stuff. And like I said, I've been to some. There's one thrift store I can think of where I would go once and then I'd find a few things, and I go back like a month later, and the books would essentially be the same, and they'd have some new CDs, a couple new things here and there, but most of the books would just they'd be sitting in the same place, the same books there, so clearly nobody's buying them, and they're not getting very many book donations for whatever reason, or they're not putting them out, they're not rotating the books. That's the other thing, is some thrift stores are excellent at rotating books, so they put color codes on them, and or they put dates of when they put them out so that they know how long the book's been out there. Goodwill does that, of course. uh, and so they'll go through the five different colors, and once they come back to that color um, that was put out weeks ago, then they might pull the book because it hasn't sold in a month or whatever it may be. Whereas other places will just keep the same old books out there. um, and you, as the owner or manager, I mean, you should have a general idea of what's selling and what's not anyway if you're there every day working. But whatever, everyone has their own system. So some of those places, they'll like, there's two I can think of that I've been to, and they'll just keep the same books. You can go back a month later and it'll be the same. What is it? Oh, I can't remember the name of the book, but it'll be the same titles that you've seen before. Um, and and you'll be lucky to find some new titles, so you know that those are thrift stores you don't want to go back to and waste your time with. And you could ask them, you could say, do you guys get very many book donations, or do you put out very many books, new titles? And they'll probably tell you, especially if it's a standalone place. So be aware of that. Brian says, one thing I always look for at the mom and pop thrift stores are board games. I don't sell a lot of them, but occasionally I'll find one that's rare and valuable. Yeah. I briefly tried to get into board games. Well, I should say I didn't really try that hard, but I guess I just was not too interested in dealing with whether it was complete or not, and not knowing whether it was complete or not, and having to do the research, and then maybe buying a game and opening it up and then finding out, oh no, it's missing this, that, or the other. So yeah, I just didn't even bother with those. Although I do know there's plenty of money in board games if you know about them. And I would say, like anything else, it's good to diversify. It's good to become knowledgeable about different types of items to resell, because you can walk into anywhere: thrift store, garage sale, estate sale, library book sale. Those are the big ones, big four. And then you can make more money, because if you can go to the board games, go to the video games, et cetera, go electronics even. It's good. It's good to diversify and find some new stuff, right? Find more to resell. Bottom line, I've dabbled in a lot of stuff. Electronics was one that I started selling a fair amount of, in terms of VCRs, DVDs, players, some stereo systems, or disc changers, that type of stuff. Different types, but mostly VCRs and DVD players that I would get into. And I've sold some for good money, and it was a good experience. And when I start going back to thrift stores, I always look. I just take a look at the electronic section. It also depends on how much time I have, whether I really want to go into detail, because some places will have a dozen different electronics out, a lot of VCRs, a lot of different types, and I have to decide whether I really want to see if there's something that's worth it, worth looking into. But definitely, I recommend diversifying for sure. I recommend, when you figure out what thrift stores are worth going to, that you set up either an exact or a rough schedule. So I had a rough schedule but I would generally have an idea of how long it had been since I'd been to one. And there's enough thrift stores where I live to where I could not visit a store. I could go once, find a lot of stuff, and then, every week go to other places for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'd rotate back to that other store. And usually it was like every 3 to 4 weeks that I would go back to another one, just because there was a lot of other ones to go to. So maybe I have a schedule where, these 5 thrift stores I go to every week or every 2 weeks. These ones I go to every month, etc. And so you kind of have an idea of what the rotation is going to be. Again, it depends on where you live, how many thrift stores there are in your area. If there's only a handful, there's only 2 or 3, then of course you can't really do that. You might have to decide whether you want to drive further away to go and visit some further away thrift stores and see if those are worth the drive. Excuse me. You could even call ahead of time and ask them if you haven't been there, although I would recommend going. But if you have to drive far, find out, how often if you're doing books, how often do you put out new books? Is it, do you do it daily, weekly, monthly? What is it? So that that you don't drive out there and it's the same books or that their books aren't that great, right? So consider all of those things when you're out there thrifting at these stores. And sometimes people will just focus on books and only sell books, and that's fine. But if they have a lot of CDs, excuse me, well, yeah, or a lot of records, or a lot of VHS tapes, or even DVDs, those are all opportunities for making some money. If you're gated on Amazon in some of those or all those categories, then you can always look to eBay and get better about knowing what's worth the money. Same with books, right? When you're going through, there's 1,000 fiction books. Most of them are probably not worth money, but you as an experienced reseller who's been doing it for years can look at the fiction books and know just by looking at them, the spine, the titles, the artwork, you can have a good idea of whether it's worth money. Also, whether it's maybe vintage, collectible, that type of thing. Recognize the author maybe. Some old Stephen King books can be worth a lot of money. It depends, right? There's certain authors that their older books can be worth some money on eBay or on Amazon as well. So keep that in mind. Oh, yeah. I have my water. Sorry, guys. I keep yawning. So keep that stuff in mind and whether or not it is it's worth it. Now, if you walk into a bookstore like this or a thrift store like that, you might want to be careful. Can you imagine? This is a picture I put up on my on my Facebook page, and I couldn't even believe that it was an actual bookstore. I mean, look at that. They have those things piled up so high you can't even get to those books. Have you ever been to a bookstore, a thrift store, and the books are just haphazardly kind of piled up, and there's stuff in front of them, they're just jammed in there, and it's kind of craziness. That's the thing that blows my mind is some of these thrift stores, and I understand, right, that there are some of these thrift stores are inundated with donations. Maybe they only have one person working for them. Maybe they're not. They haven't really looked into getting volunteers. There's a lot of reasons. I think also it has to do with the owner, right? I'm talking about mom and pop shops. I've come across quite a few where they could have a beautiful store, like they could have things organized, but yet they have it more like this, where it's sort of madness, and not just the books, but a lot of different things. And I can think of one where they had like stuff piled in front of the bookshelves, and you had to kind of move. It was like some frames of some artwork frames. You had to kind of move those back and to look in there and see what was there. And then the books weren't lined up. They were piled this way and that way, this way and that way. And you couldn't even see what they were, and they weren't organized in any way. There wasn't like fiction here, nonfiction there. They certainly weren't broken down into, different types of nonfiction or anything like that, or alphabetized. So I understand it can be overwhelming, but the thing about a thrift store is you can probably easily find people to volunteer. You definitely can find somebody to work for you. Anyway, whatever. I don't run a thrift store, but sometimes you come across places like that look like this photo, and it can be quite an interesting experience. I made well, anyway, yeah. Yeah, that was my Storytime music, Brian. So I like to play. That's a new thing I'm going to do if I have a story to tell. That wasn't much of a story, was it? But I I remember. Do you guys have any? Do you guys have any off the top of your head? You can remember some funny sourcing stories in terms of like people dealing with people at thrift stores. Have you come across or had any confrontations, some weird exchanges with people? Because I was remembering the other day here. I'm going to play my Storytime music again because I think it's pretty cool. Turn it down a little bit. I remember going to this thrift store. It was the one I was talking about that has the two locations. It has a lot of books, and I like it a lot because there's not only a lot of books, but they're also always putting out new ones and taking off older ones. So it's uncommon for me to go there if I haven't been there in months, especially. There's always new titles. They're really good about it, and they color code them and that type of thing. But anyway, that's not the story. So I was at this one, and they have the books up against the wall, which is typical on bookshelves. And so so they have them against the wall, and then behind you though is just open space, right? But they have furniture, so they'll have like cabinets, or they'll have desks, or they'll have shelving, that type of stuff. Sort of piled, not piled, but all next to each other behind you. So they've created an aisle, right? Now, two people can't really stand there. Two people can't really. You can stand next to each other, but if you have to get by, you can't do it with cart. Like two carts can't fit. Anyway, I remember that this was years ago, that there was a guy who was somehow trying to get past me, or I was trying to get past him. I don't remember exactly how it happened. I should have written it down, but I may have put it in a blogging video back in the day that I was making. But I just remember that he was probably 30 plus years my senior. So he would look like he was easily, if he wasn't in his 70s, he was really close to hitting his 70s. And then he just kind of went crazy on me, talking about, like, I think it had to do with moving past each other and there not being space, and you need to move, and this, that, and the other. And he just started saying some crazy stuff to me, like aggressive stuff, like he wanted to have a fist fight with me. And it was so strange because you go to a thrift store, and typically as a reseller you're left alone. The random person might be like, hey, what are you doing? Do you resell books? But that's, for me, it's uncommon. It's not that often. People usually just leave you alone. Workers leave you alone. They might say hi, but they leave you alone. Other people who are there to buy, they just, it's typical experience, right? So usually I go, and I'm by myself in my world, scanning, doing my thing, looking at books. And I might have to be like, oh, excuse me, go around somebody, or somebody comes and they might want to pass by me and they say, excuse me, and I move, right? And then this guy out of nowhere, man, just starts going crazy. And he wasn't like yelling and screaming, but he started to say, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I think he was cussing at me and almost trying to provoke me. It was really strange. And I kept as calm as I could, I remember, but just being like blown away. So those kind of experiences can happen. There can be some oddballs in a thrift store. And thankfully nothing too bad happened with that, but that was such a weird experience, and hopefully I never see the guy again. And it was funny because then he got all angry and said all this stuff, and then like 5 minutes later he tried to be like cool with me, like, oh, we're all good, right? It was very strange. He clearly had personal issues. Aaron, good morning. um so yeah. So thrift stores can be entertaining. They can be profitable, but they can also be entertaining. That's for sure. Um, so I wanted to share with you this this funny meme as we're gonna end the video here soon. The stream. Um, I hope that you guys are able to get into some. I know it's rough out there. I know you guys are talking about you've gone through your death pile, you've sold your best stuff. Make it a habit of checking the local apps. Uh, Go every morning, midday, on there, afternoon, at night. Just check consistently because you never know when things will randomly go up. Look for free books or look for books in general. Look for CDs, records, VCRs, everything you can look for, and see if you can find anything. Create an ad, a free ad, and post it on all the local sites. And see what happens. If you even just get one person to contact you to donate books to you, it could be worth it. You could find some good stuff in there. But hopefully soon things will reopen, and you can start going out there. But for now, we just got to kind of hang in there, I guess. So I found this. This is a meme I found. I thought it was pretty funny. Back at day 5 of quarantine, found a dead fly. I thought this was pretty creative. I mean, that's pretty funny. I've seen a lot of funny memes about it. I mean, there's nightmarish things happening with this quarantine, and people getting ill and people passing away. But we gotta try to make light of some stuff. So just about 8 o'clock, guys. Yes. Musashi-san asked, has FBA been allowing media again? Absolutely, they have. I sent in a when was it? A shipment on this past week, Friday, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. If you have FBA stuff, then you should start listing it and shipping it in. I did a shipment. The last shipment I had done was April 17th, and then I did one this past week. Probably I don't remember, at some point during the week last week, and everything was accepted and it all went to one warehouse. So when I did it a month ago, I had some split shipments and some things were not accepted. But this time, and the things that mostly were not accepted were CDs. It accepted almost all the books. So that's good that all the CDs were accepted as well. And so now if you have any media, I would recommend shipping it in for sure. List it and ship it in. I didn't have an issue at all. And they received it and everything. Actually, that I think was Friday when I sent it in. So it should be going live. If it didn't go live already, I'll have to check. It should be going live today or tomorrow, I would think. So yeah, things are getting back to normal with Amazon. I mean, normal in terms of being able to send in shipments. Yeah. Amazon is allowing shipments now for a while now, for a few weeks, and they are slowly, hopefully, getting caught up with their shipping. It's just a matter of of things reopening in society, like thrift stores and being able to go to sales in general and finding stuff to resell. That's the big thing for us resellers. So hopefully here on Monday, hopefully you guys can find some things to resell by hook or crook and be able to list some new stuff. So I thank you guys for watching. It's been awesome. I'm gonna play the song. We're gonna get out of here.
Flippin' live, flippin' live, flippin' live. We're gonna strive. We're here to learn and gonna earn. Flippin' live, flippin' live, flippin' live. We're flippin' live.
All right, guys, thank you for watching. This is Flippin' Live. We do a live stream every day during quarantine. As long as most of us are in quarantine, we're going to be doing this every morning. This has been day 16. I appreciate everybody that comes out and watches. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you are watching this in the future, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. and subscribe to the channel. I'm actually going to be posting a video right now, a new one, so check out my channel. It'll be up there in a few minutes. And here, I'll even show you. Where did it go? Where did it go? I'm going to be posting a DVD reseller buys bookcases for warehouse sale. So this is going to be going up live soon. So please do check that out on my channel. And then I don't have anything else to put up. So I'm gonna come up with some ideas for some new pre-recorded videos and whatnot. All right, guys. Okay, no problem, Musashi-san. Have a great day. And I appreciate everybody who watches the show, who comes out. We'll go live again tomorrow at 7. Have a great day. Have a great Monday, start of the week, and hope your sales are strong. Hope you're able to find some stuff to list and resell. Keep booking, guys, and make sure and stay safe. And don't get so bored that you end up doing something like this. But seriously, guys, stay safe, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.